All right, so today we're going to demonstrate how to fix a flat tire on a bike. So a couple things that you'll need. If you have access to tire levers, those will help. In this case, I have a through axle, so I need an Allen key. You'll need something to hold your bike, and then a new inner tube. So let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, I have a through axle. You might have a quick release. You need to remove the rear wheel from the frame itself. Once we have the through axle or the quick release out, you can just kind of set that to the side along with your Allen key. You won't need that for a while. Take the slack off your rear derailleur, and you should be able to drop your wheel or tire out. Now, in this case, I left it in the gear that I had shifted into. Sometimes it's easier if you shift into your largest gear. That will be helpful in terms of dropping it out of your rear portion of the bike. From here, you need to let all the air out. There might be a little bit of air left if the tire is still holding a little bit. Press all that out, and then at this point, you're ready to change the tire. Now, what a lot of folks will do is they will just take the entire tire off. That makes it pretty challenging to change the tube. So what you're looking to do is just to remove one side of the tire. And the cool thing with these tire levers, kind of why I like these tire levers, these are by Park Tool, it's because they have this nice little clip here where you can kind of bend it down and hook it to the spoke of your wheel. That makes it a little bit easier. And then if you have a second, you slide that in, and that can help you to pry the remaining tire away from the wheel. Now, this specific wheel is a clincher, and so on the inside there's a little lip, and that can sometimes make it challenging to get the tire off of the rim itself. So you might have to kind of pry it back, pull it back with your thumb as you go around. Additionally, these are carbon wheels, so just be careful if you have carbon wheels, you're not scratching that outer portion. If you have alloy, you want to be a little bit careful as well. So if you can see here, one side of the wheel is still on the rim, the other side is exposed. What that will enable me to do is just speed up my process of changing this flat tire. So at this point, I can hold that back and push my valve up and out of my rim while also removing the inner tube. There we go. And then I can just follow that all the way around as I pull out the inner tube. And then you have two options. Depends on how the flat occurred. So you can either put in a brand new inner tube at this point and just kind of cinch everything up, or if you just have the inner tube, you're going to want to inspect it for a flat. We'll show you both options. You also want to make sure that there's nothing sticking through the tire, because obviously you flatted for a reason. And so I find it helpful to just kind of run my fingers along the inside of the tire and make sure that nothing kind of came through and punctured my inner tube, as well as inspecting for any little pieces of glass or a rock or something like that. All right, so we have our old tube that came out of the tire. Somewhere in here, there is a small hole. And so what you can do is you can grab a floor pump or some other form of pump, set it up as if you were to inflate it, and then start pumping some air through it and inflate it a little bit. And then what you're going to look for is any area where there could be some air leaking out. And sometimes that's more challenging than not. But once you find that area, if you have a small patch kit like this, you can take that patch and you can put it on wherever the air is leaking. Sometimes holding the tire up to your ear, you can hear that air kind of hissing out of the tire, and that can be an easy way to find the flat. Once you have that done, you're ready to reinstall. For today, we're going to reinstall a fresh tire, and so we'll set this one off to the side for the time being. Okay, so at this point, we're ready to reinstall our inner tube. Hopefully you had one of these while you were on your ride, if you're changing mid-ride in a rear saddlebag or maybe in the rear of your Jersey. You want to unroll it, and it's going to install far easier if you put just a little bit of air into it. Now you may or may not have a pump available, and so the easiest thing to do is just to unscrew the valve, press it, and then put just a little bit of air into it. That will cause it to go in a little bit easier. From here, you're going to grab your wheel again and find wherever your valve stem location is. You're going to take your valve and you're going to push it through and then tuck the tube back into the tire all the way around. So as you tuck that tube back in, you can also kind of reset the tire on the rim. Now there's going to come a point on most tires, even if they're used, meaning you've put a fair number of miles on them, where they're just tough to get kind of the last maybe 25 to 30% of the tire on the rim. And this is where a lot of cyclists will damage the rim of the tire trying to get it on. From experience, I know these are pretty tight tires. And so what you want to do is you want to take up the slack, so to speak. So come all the way to the opposite side and pull kind of in an opposing manner to kind of stretch the tire back on to the rim of your bike. And in doing so, you'll give yourself a little bit more leeway to get that tire kind of seated back onto the rim. And you won't break your fingers or damage the rim of your bike. So I need to do that just a little bit more, get a little bit more give in my tire. I'm going to work my way around. And now you'll see I have enough flexibility in the tire. Pull that back onto the rim of the bike. So at this point, you want to feel all the way around, make sure you don't have any areas where the inner tube might get pinched between the rim and the tube itself, or the tire itself. That's called a pinch flat. Go ahead and inflate and then reinstall, and you're good to go. All right, go ahead and stop.